EEP 32 The Glory of Human Life. Audio 1. The preeminence of being a human being. Human life is said to be a supreme creation of nature. It seems as though complete art of the Almighty is put in for this masterpiece display. The distinct features and potentials endowed in a human are not acquired by any other beings. This might give an impression of a bias of God in favor of the human race. But that is not true. God is the eternal parent of all, the infinite source of affection and protection. Thy love and justice are absolute for all. The Omnipotent has bestowed substantial bequests on all beings that are essential for the later survival and growth in the natural environment. Thee is omnipresent and sublime and has therefore entrusted the responsibilities of physically guarding the orderly sustenance of thy creation of the world upon the human beings. A human being is conferred with superior faculties, greater potentials, and facilities so that he could transact this duty efficiently and help developing a beautiful, civilized, cultured, and happy world reflecting thy grace. In terms of his physical body, a human being does not seem to have any extraordinary capabilities as compared to many other organisms. He cannot fly on his own like a bird, neither can swim beyond limits in deep seas like the fishes. He is also deprived of the jumping of monkeys and might of the lion. His physique is so tiny in front of an elephant. The same is true of his perceptions through the sense organs. The facilities of smelling in a dog, hearing in an owl, and vision in an hawk are far more evolved than that of humans. Some creatures can sense the occurrence of heavy rains, cyclones, and tremors in near future and reach the safe shelters well in advance. Who among us could do that so adeptly without any instrument? It is indeed the marvelous bequest of the brain and the intellect that effectuates superiority of a human being over other living beings. Despite being weaker in physical strength, he can defeat and control the wild animals with ease because of his mental transcendency and awareness. He can even make them play and dance to his tunes in a circus or entertainment shows. The unimaginable achievements of science and technology that have enriched his life with colossal comforts and evincing his amazing intellect and mental faculties. The genesis and development of language, scripts, art and literature, medicine, philosophy, politics, etc. remark the civilized ascent of man, which stands out at peerless heights on the evolutionary scale. It might be meaningless to compare this intelligence being with any ordinary creature on this earth. Nothing seems to be impossible for the human willpower. He has stirred the depths of the earth, the ocean, and the grandeur of space with his determination. He has penetrated the thick forest, reached the gigantic mountaintops, and measured the limits of long rivers, wide deserts, and glacial expansions. He's searching for newer resources beneath the oceans, traces of extraterrestrial life inhabiting in the barren land on the moon and the ruling over the stars. The mythological grand churning of the ocean also at times sounds insignificant in comparison to these endeavors and accomplishments of mankind. However, these alone do not glorify the human being as the crown prince of God. If he focuses the astonishing powers of mind only for selfish aims and autocratic goals, he would not hesitate in exploiting the boons of nature. The same potentials of man would trigger restlessness, terror, and adversities in every horizon of life in that case. This way, he would not only disobey thy wish, but also prove to be guilty in the eyes of the absolute law. Senior officers are given the facilities of car, bungalows, servants, assistant, etc., apart from attracted salaries by the employers. This is to facilitate better transactions of higher responsibilities by the former, and certainly not to encourage their pomposity and arrogance. They are supposed to be accountable for using the extra benefits. Corrupt practices and misuse of the available resources does render them dismissal and severe punishment. Thy clemency has endowed mankind with the majestic mental and intellectual faculties for certain purposes to maintain and embellish thy garden across the world. If a man misuses these divine gifts and engages in contrary, perverted acts, he is bound to be punished some day. The judicial order of the omniscient Supreme Lord also has provision for correspondent penalty. Apart from facing thy punishment in the form of ill omen and adversities, the sinful individual, self-sufferers, devolution worse than the animals in the successive lives. Next chapter. The basis of human dignity. The virtues hidden in the inner cores of human self account for the rare distinction and splendor of human life. Human life is bestowed for the expression and active manifestation of these noble tendencies. Humility, continence, service, generosity, benevolence, etc. are their natural reflections that found the basis of evolution of the character of men from that of a ghost or a beast in the human body to that of a good, honored, great personality. His intellect and other faculties can make worth use of their immense potential and available opportunities and resources only with the arousal and adoption of these natural human characteristics. It is only after this prudent enlightenment that the powers and the talents of people get restrained from self-obsession, avarice, and other insidious influence and detrimental acts and are oriented towards constructive contributions in cultural, civilized, soothing, and glorious development of this world, the carefully nurtured garden of thee. The treasure of Bhava Samvedna is the most valuable, unique asset of human life. This is what enables one understand and feel others' suffering and agony. This is what makes him share others' worries and distribute his own joys. It is indeed the sublime impulse of Bhava Samvedna in people's heart that nurtures saintliness, sympathy, amity, harmony, cooperation, modesty, etc., and erects an ambience of civility, goodwill, and all-around happiness. Emergence of this exalare in mankind generates great saints, rishis, and angelic beings who evince the glow of divinity in human life by the flow of eternal love in their hearts. They deep sagacity and ideal conduct and generate a heavenly atmosphere of beatified bliss on this earth. Presence of such divine incarnations and their compatible saintly aids has effectuated the descent of golden era or the epoch of truth in this world in different ages. Once upon a time, the 33 crore inhabitants of the Indian soil were revered as 33 crore devtas because of their lives endowed with such divine ideals. Bharat of that age was gloriously recognized as the Vishwaguru Chakravarti. The Supreme Creator has subliminally endowed thy manifestation in the form of human. A model of the universe is supposed to be subtly inscribed in an atom. The orbital motions of electrons and protons around the nucleus constitute a planetary system in an energy space. We all know that the blueprint of the entire tree is coded in its tiny seed, which beings sprouting its appearance in nourishing soil, water, and sunlight. The garment of divine potential is also folded in a seed form in the human self. It could be said that God is present in a latent, dormant state in every human being. Enormous sources of riddhi siddhis, that means supernormal talents and divine potential, are hidden within our existence. Divine virtues and powers imbibed in the human self begin to arouse and manifest when these extrasensory sources in the body and mind are activated by the devout sadhanas. When the divinity immanent in a human being to express its presence, despite being normal in its physical existence, his life gradually transmutes into a higher realms of being a great personality, a beatified saint, a siddha yogi, a rishi, a divine being. Thou love, knowledge, and might pervade in all dimensions of his life. It is this state of absolute enlightenment and ultimate realization that is described in Vedanta as Soham, Shivoham, Chidanandoham, and Ayatma Brahma, Pragyanatham Brahma Tattvamasi. Indeed, all this is possible in human life. The human life is said to be superior to all other lives, that of the animal kingdom and even of the life of Devtas, because all other lives are only yogyonis in which one can only suffer or enjoy the different materialization of his karmafal, accumulated effects of his karmas in the past lives. Human life alone is karma-yoni in which thou hast granted the freedom of karma and thus allowed one to be the architect of his own destiny. Neither the animals who are enslaved to bear the burden of sinful acts of the past lives, nor the devtas who float in heavenly beauty and relish the absolute pleasures could render any karma. Both are born as human beings whenever the balance of their karmafal is settled. A human being can shape the devolution or evolution of his life by the quality of his karmas. Because of these unique beatitudes, the human life, the savant and the sages of all ages have adored the dignity of human life and have preached mankind to wake up and realize this invaluable fortune and make prudent use of his truly rare opportunities of being born as human. The Vedic rishis address the humans as Amrit Putra, cherubic child. Maharishi Vyas elucidates in the Mahabharata that there is nothing superior in this universe to the human life. Next chapter. Human being, an astray God. The human life could be a means of divine evolutions of the live appearance of the divine incarnation, manifestation of God in the human body. However, if neglected and lost in ignorance or ruined in perversion, it could prove to be the curse, an ocean of sorrows and miseries. While other creatures traverse the journey of life routinely as per the rules of nature, humans at times are seen to have transformed their lives into a hell because of the compounded pressure of inner vices and evil influences of the external ambience. Looking at his decline, one wonders whether such fellows are humans or some dreaded animals or ghosts in the body of a human. In its infancy and childhood, the heart of the human child is so pure, serene, contented, loving, and truthful, reflecting the presence of Thee. But the influence of the ignorance and materialistic attitude of the parents, extroverted teaching, untoward trends in the society, and worldly passions mislead it, and soon its original cherubic nature is wane. Thereafter, he lives in the life of someone who has lost himself. This way, every man or woman could be regarded as an astray devta who has forgotten his own identity. God has gifted us wonderful hands to work, the excellent machinery of brain and mind to think and feel. Thou has also bestowed substantial time for enormous activities. We could cultivate blissful conditions for ourselves in all circumstances by making scrupulous use of these natural bequests. However, many of us drain our resources in sheer negligence and lethargy. We don't even attempt making efficient use of our physical and mental faculties. Such fellows often leave their lives in the hands of the destiny and live the dull life of incompetence, anxiety, poverty, and decline. For such people, life becomes a phase to be somehow passed rather than to be lived. They bear the burden of life being driven by the tides of circumstances and keep complaining of the injustice of God, of their ill omen, for all the adversities and agonies. For most people, life is a routine course of eating, growing, earning, reproducing, raising the children and the family, and somehow completing the respective stages of old age till the final departure. This life of the social animal is similar to that of a natural animal. And trapped in this casual, ignorant, and rather customized and narrow attitude towards life, one can't see or realize the higher and wider domains of life. The periphery of such a life revolves around earning more and more comforts for the self, spouse, and the offspring. Such people hardly care for the society and are often deprived of sympathy and cooperation of others. Excessive self-obsession coupled with ego and avarice worsens the nature of people's life. It may be declined to the limits that even beasts would appear better than such fellows. Animals abide by the law of nature, and although being confined to the natural needs of the body, their life never perverts or declines because of passions. They do not harm the fellow beings out of jealousy or hatred, but debased human mind breaks all norms and declines to the ghostly levels without any bottom. The power-hungry demon of ego sitting on a corrupted mind harasses others by exploitation, cruelty, deception, terrors, and varieties of tortures and loses all peace from his own life too. He remains troubled, vexed, restless, and furious, and makes others in contact also bear the fire of his misdeeds and ailing psychology. This life cursed by one's own evils is worse than the hates, and ruffles and debauches the familiar social and subtle environment too.